present our honoured guest, our guest of honour, Mr. Andrew Carse. He's a little smaller than I remember him, but still full of personality. So, first things first, we need a drink. A drink for Mr. Carse. We Scots do not believe in sending our dearly departed into the afterlife without a damn good drink in them. And also, Ski and Do protects against evil spirits. So I'd like to propose a toast to the life and memory of my uncle, Andrew Carse. It's an old Scottish toast that he was very fond of. Many of you have probably heard it before, and it goes like this. Here's to us, was like us, damn few, and they're all deed. Slava. Thank you. Glass of beer and a wee dram of scotch. That should keep the man going for a wee while. There are no... Please sit down. Relax. There's no formal program at a wake. We'll let Carl stay. Normally, I would say a few words. Carl would say a few words, but we have an honoured guest, one of Andy's old friends and one of his first and best prodigies, Harry Nasatharai. Where are you, Harry? Harry has a plane to catch to India a little bit later, so we're going to pass the floor to him.
Good afternoon. I'm going to share a little bit about Andrew. When I first crossed paths with Andrew, or Andy, or Carsey, at a job interview, I called him Mr. Carse. As I was raised well by my mother, who felt the importance of formality and, oh yes, respecting his elders and my elders. This was 30 years ago almost, and Andrew said to me, Mr. Carse is my father, and he is no longer with us. Andrew may no longer be walking the earth with us today, but a devotion to his friends, family, and loved ones is a legacy like no other. I had the privilege of Andrew's good counsel for many years, and he always had a story or an anecdote to share which helped me immensely. I'm sure it helped many others as well. Andrew always said he did not want to unduly influence the life of young persons or young people, but he felt it important to follow he felt it was important that young people follow their own path, but he definitely nudged you in the right direction. One particular day remains indelibly etched in my mind for when I was 26 years old. Andrew and I had dinner the evening before. As many of you experienced, Andrew was always up to sharing a meal, having a few laughs, and debating the latest in world affairs, business, politics, or what have you. Andrew was a great conversationalist, and there was never a dull moment when you were in Andrew's company. The next day after this dinner, after inviting a few too many scotches, I reached out to Andrew and suggested we have lunch. I sat at his kitchen table, in a kitchen that looked like the 70s, with the Lady Kenmore appliances. And anyone who's been there has seen those appliances. I think they're still there. And I shared with Andrew my business challenges as a 26-year-old. I looked and sounded defeated on that day. Andy shared with me an anecdote about his challenges in a real estate development in Oakville, some of you know about that did not go very well for him. Then he shared the following, and I can hear his voice as clear as the day when I was 26 years old. Andy said to me, "You were happy yesterday when we were having dinner." I replied, "Yes, it was a good time." And then Andy said, "What has changed since yesterday?" I looked perplexed. I did not know how to respond. Andy said, "What changed was your attitudes towards your problems. You were happy yesterday and unhappy today. Nothing has changed except your attitude." I thought that was a great insight for it. And as a 26-year-old, we think our problems are significant, but Andy said, it's in your mind. Happiness is between your ears. Andrew lived a remarkable life and left his mark on this earth. as Andrew's loved one had passed, that he lived a long time. And this happened to him a long time. He would see his loved ones and friends pass, and it says it's inevitable. I asked Andrew how he felt each time, and he responded without hesitation. Life is for the living. What I learned from Andrew is to live life, have a positive outlook, even in the face of adversity. I truly miss my good friend Andrew. I was lucky to have such a good friend, and I think he's left a legacy which we can all appreciate. Thank you so much for listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks to our piper, Terry Dyson, for doing such an excellent job of bringing Andy into us. And I think he's quite happy to leave, as indicated by his choice of music. Terry?
In general. He didn't believe in life after death. He believed in living the life he wanted while he lived it. And so he did. He was opposed to the morning of death and believed in the celebration of life. So here we are reflecting all the good times we had with Andy and have a drink on him. When I received the news about Andy, I took it really hard the first couple of days. But then once I really started to think about it, Andy lived a full and magical life. He lived in the moment, constantly learning and experiencing the world as if it all was a miracle. He must have been born with a beautiful mind, warm heart, and drive to succeed. Everything he did was driven from the heart, from his academia, his music, to join the Navy, his career, to becoming the president of General Tire. And finally retiring to start a little chicken business with some friends and living life as he saw fit. He had so many accomplishments amongst all those things. But most of all, the friendships he built, which he valued more than anything else. It would be next to impossible to talk about all Andy's virtues and the things he has done without writing a novel. But those that knew him know he, sorry. But those that knew him know who he was, and that's all that really counts. Andy, to me, was everything a person should be. He was kind, honest, loving, always willing to help, and always putting people around him before himself. He was passionate, he was vulnerable, he was compassionate, hardworking, a leader, a student of life, and an inspiration. He was really the epitome of a gentleman and a scholar. He was a teacher to so many, a mentor, a friend. I like to think he made a great impact on those around him, and in turn, the world as a whole. I'm sure at one point or another, Andy has helped the majority of people in this room. His advice and guidance was bar none. And though sought by many, he always gave it away wholeheartedly and honestly. Even if he did come up as a real asshole sometimes, but he came by that honestly as well. He spent a lot of time with my family, where he was always welcome. As a child, I would go with him to the egg farm almost every Saturday. I would wander off, explore the forest, shoot pellet guns, build forts, fish, all the things little boys like to do. Not sure what he did, I just assumed he sat around drinking Johnny Walker with Dave Mann, that was the farm manager, and shooting the shit. I'm sure there's more to it, but who knows? Anyways, after that, we would go do our rounds, delivering eggs to all my aunts and uncles, where the doors were always open, and after making about 5 stops, having 5 lunches, and probably 10 glasses of wine, we all know Andy was a good drinker, so no point being modest about it. He would then drop me off, and I would count down the hours till next Saturday's adventure. Those Saturdays grew into weekends, and weekends to weeks, where I eventually just moved in. I'm not too sure when he decided to adopt me. Well, that's basically what happened. But it was the best thing that's ever happened to me, since I had nonstop access to all that Andy was. To me, he was basically an encyclopedia of life. And whenever I had a question, he had an answer. And I only strived to gain as much intellect and humanness as him. He gave me the opportunity to see the world at a young age, both geographically and culturally. He let me enter a world I would have never seen. He taught me so much, and ingrained so much of himself inside me, and for that I'm eternally grateful. Amongst my family, he was the godfather. Even though he was Scottish, everyone would confide in him and his advice. He was always the MC at our weddings, since he spoke better Italian, you could actually understand his English. We all loved Andy. And as I was adopted into his, we adopted him into ours. He is, and always will be, an honorary Giovinazzo. I think he would have liked that. Andy basically guided me through every step of my life, helped me through all the hurdles that life threw at me, and the ones that I created, and there was a lot of those. But no matter how many times I screwed up, he was there. He was always there for me. He was there for all of us. We called him my godfather, but really he was my best friend. It's going pretty good. I like to answer the poem from Robert Burns, and he was a huge fan as it works. And I feel really sums ending up. It's called An Epitaph on a Friend, or something like that. An honest man here lies at rest, the friend of man, the friend of truth, the friend of age and guide of youth. Few hearts like his virtue warmed, few heads with knowledge so informed. If there's another world, he lives in bliss. If there is none, he made the best of this. To Andy, to a great, to selfless man. May you live through us always.
I would just like to read a few words from one who is not here. My mother Irene up there, Andy's younger sister by 3 years. Irene is 90 years old now, living in Edinburgh. She is in very good health, but coming transatlantic for a party is pushing it at 90, as you can imagine. This picture was taken at my ex-wife's wedding party in 2006. Many people said that Andy and my mother looked like twins in this photo, which I think was a gross injustice to my mother. She was always a good-looking girl. There's some photos of her from the 50s in the revolving part of the show. Anyway, she just asked if I could read out a quick note from her to the people that have come here. So, quoting, "I'm sorry I can't be with you today, as you say your final goodbyes to my brother Andrew, but my thoughts are with you. Having met many of you on my numerous trips to Canada since the first trip in 1955, I know how much your friendships meant to Andy, as I'm sure his did to you. I know the memories will stay with you forever, and I thank you for being so attentive to Andy, especially as his health declined. In particular, thanks to Dominic Giovinazzo for taking such good care of Andy when he really needed the help. Thank you, Dominic." He was applauding himself, if you notice. Going back to my mother's words, and also to David Nash for for all the help he gave to Andy, especially over the past few years, and all the support he's giving Ross during this difficult time. I know Ross and I appreciate what good friends you all are. Thank you. So, would anyone else like to get up, say a few words about their reminiscence of Andrew, sing a song? Not enough drinking going on for singing songs. Come on, Maya, I thought you were going to sing. Chicken dough? Ah, that's okay. Musselman's going to sing a song.
Okay, because of you, Andy and Bob, and the Gymnasi family, Carlos the man he is today, so thanks, Andy. We'll remember you forever. And I'm really glad that I got to meet you, and I'm really glad that Moss got to meet you, so that's really what I want to say. And yeah, Massimo Andreas, it's after him, so we'll forever thank you. So that's all I really want to say.
Now I'm gonna. So I can't really remember the first time I met Andy, but when we grew up on Gladys, 51 Gladys, he was over all the time. I remember I still images of him. Sorry, I haven't cried yet, but when I found out he passed away, I was working. So it was like, never really hit, but now I see all of you in front of here, we're celebrating his life, and it's kind of like, whoa, okay, it's actually happening. But he was a pretty big part of our lives. You know, he was there all the time. And I heard him say some pretty awesome things, heard him say some pretty crazy things, but he spent a lot of time with us sitting around the table, and I learned a lot from him. You know, yeah, we grew up in kind of what we call blue-collar family, right? Like my father's a hard worker, and just Andy brought a different part of the world to me. He showed me that, you know, there's school it can open so many doors for you, and I would have never even probably touched a computer until I was maybe way into high school. He actually was the man who taught me how to use a computer, and he helped me write essays. And my dad would work shift work, and when my dad was working, he would come and pick me up and drive me to my dance lessons. Yeah, well, he did. He was there. So, you know, especially because my mother didn't drive. Whenever I needed a ride, we would call Andy. He'd be there. He was like kind of like a second dad. You know, if we needed him, if I had a question about school, a homework question, French especially, I'd go to Andy, and he would have an answer. And I really, really, really looked up to him. I just thought he was this man with just an amazing amount of knowledge, and also just an amazing, he had traveled, he had so many stories, and my introduction, I guess, to geography started with him, because, you know, he would say he was here, and he was, you know, in India, and he was traveling, and he was on ships, and that was kind of, as a kid at my age, I had never heard stories like that. You know, my father came from Italy, and he came to Canada, and that's it, like one trip, right? Nothing happened in between. So, whereas Andy had all these stories, and just, I guess, I mean, he was cultured. I'm very grateful that he was a part of our lives, and he actually, like, he shaped who I am today. And Carlo, as well, and Georgia, and Christina, and Rita. We all spent a lot of time with Andy. And in the later years, when I came back to Canada to have my babies, he was actually at home. He was there. He was one of the first people to meet my children, because he was living at my dad's house. So he was one of the first to hold my kids. And yeah, he's a special man, and it's really sad that I don't get to see him anymore. But he lives on through all of us and his memories. And little Moss here, Maya would like him. I know Maya and Sophia wanted to sing a song. Are you guys gonna do that?
I would sing, but I forgot the script.
You sing on the lead.
No, I forgot the script, and I already decided the song and I practiced it, but I don't really know all the words. No, I'm not singing on the lead.
She's nervous. She actually sings it really beautifully with her sister. They did it in a talent show this summer and they won. Come on, for Andy. Do it for Andy. I'll tell you one thing. Andy had so much fun with my girls, as much as they drove him crazy, because it's hard, right? When you're older and these little kids running around making noise, but he was very sweet at times. And Maya and him had this thing where Maya would run around the house and he would time her. And he was really encouraging. He's like, why don't you get Maya to like do track, you know? And he gave Maya lots of words of encouragement. Right? Yeah? Anyone else have a story to share? I'd love to hear some more stories about Andy.
Oh, my name is Andrew. I got to meet Andrew many years ago. He was involved with Schaefer Hospital, and there was a fundraising campaign going on, and the directors of the hospital asked my company to help with the fundraising activity. And we got the contract to promote it, and Andrew was very much involved in helping us provide the information that we needed. We put together a program, and with his help, we raised over $1 million within 6 months that we had assigned. We had assigned a year to raise $1 million, but we did it in 6 months. And he was a great help in doing that. And that's many, many years ago when $1 million was worth $1 million. All right. Everything that I can tell you about is in the past, you know. But he was a great friend, and he was a great drinking buddy, and we had a great time drinking. And that's really my only claim to fame with Andrew, is that I drank with him so much, you know. And we drew it at least once a week, you know. And we would go to the bars, and we argue about what beer we're going to drink. And I said I wanted Canadian. He said, how about OB? So we compromised. We had OB. We were in Florida one time as a guest, and we come out of this restaurant again, a little exuberant in our drinking activity. We come out of the parking lot, this beautiful night in Florida, the sky is beautiful, the stars are bright, brilliant. And Andrew goes around and he starts explaining the various constellations. Marvelous, he knew this constellation and that constellation and this one, and he was just memorizing all. And here we are in the middle of the parking lot. And then he turns around and he says, where in the hell is the goddamn car? So there's a lot of fun to be with him, and I really enjoyed being with him, and it was nothing but good times. And I had a lot of different experiences. One of the things I did is I went to Ontario Art College, and I went through the process. But there was one particular course they insisted that I take in order to get my degree, and it was an English literature course, Canadian literature. So they told us these 6 or 7 books that we had to read. So I bought 2 sets. I took 1 set, I gave another set to Andrew. So the 2 of us would read, we'd each read the book, we'd go to the bar, we'd discuss the book, each book. I'd go to the school, I'd write the précis, answer the questions. I ended up getting an A, and I come back, and we drink again, and we do the next book. So we had a great time, so I have a lot to be thankful for. So who's next?
Every night I visit them, all the staff, I'd come in and they'd say, here comes Big Ed. I know where they got that from. Constantly, this is Big Ed. I looked at him one day and I said, Andrew, look around you. I'm Big Ed to everybody. He was a fabulous man. I get choked up here. The 5 years that I knew him, the stories that we had, the opportunity to be with him, the fun, the 4 of us crossed Ed and David. Not the least. Yeah,
the house for us Christmas time. I'm from a family of 12, but in that house I see nothing but love all around. I'm telling you, it's, to me, I hope they accept me as a friend. Yeah, a friend, but I see Dominic there. The best Dominic. Molto bene. I love Andrew, I always will, and he's always in my heart and my mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiny. His other nickname.
I'm going to get another beer on Andrew.
I've another case before the estate runs out. But when we were out together, somebody pointed out when we had Ed Talenko and Big Ed, 2 Eds are better than 1. That was you, wasn't it? Did I say that? I think so. That was after the 15th OP. So, anyone else? Oh, you ready now, Maya? I thought you were putting your hand up. You know who's going to go next? Who's that? You? Which one? Point it over there. Well. So go to us. I understand you would like to say a few words. You lied. Never trust anyone under 15. Well, that's why I hope. None of us would know what you're saying.
Hi, my name is Carol. Nobody probably knows me, but Andy was a friend of mine, dad, and really best friend. So Andy was part of my life when I was growing up. I'm sad that he's gone. I've seen him a few times in the last few years, but as he's gotten older, it's been tough. I used to have tea with what would be your grandmother, right? So she was with Andy at home, and we'd go over, and I'd have tea with her by the front window of the living room. And we'd have Cadbury chocolate fingers and a cup of tea at 4 o'clock. So that's going back over, 50 years ago, let's say. But we just loved going to his house because I loved your grandmother. She was a sweetheart. And when she passed, I was really sad because she was a big part of me growing up. We used to go to Andy's house, and he had this gazebo in the backyard. And it was all screened in. And as a little girl, I used to think this was the coolest place. You were away from all the bugs and all the little animals that were crawling around. And we'd have fun and we'd play out there. My dad and Andy would be out drinking somewhere, and I'd be playing by myself or with your grandmother. But he was a big part of my dad's life. My dad's name is Moody. So you've probably heard of him. My name is Carol. And my brother and I spent a lot of time with Andy. So I just want to say that he meant a lot to a lot of us. He was the smartest man I ever met, had the best memory I could ever remember, and your family is really sweet. So I just want to say thank you for having him in our lives, because we're blessed that he was in our lives.
Hello. I'm going to put Maya to shame. If she won't sing a song for Andy, I will. This should clear the room pretty quickly. An old Scotch ditty, very short, which Andy liked and which I like. And it goes something like this. Just a wee dock and Doris, just a wee dram you ken. Just a wee dock and Doris, afore you can go walk. There's a wee white feet waiting in a wee button bed. And if you can say it's a bright moonlight night, then you're all right, you can. Thank you. My next appearance will be at the Sands in Las Vegas. Anybody say a few things, a few words? No? Well, the bar's still open, so that's always a good sign. Notice how many stories about Andy seem to involve alcohol. Notice how many of the revolving pictures up here have alcohol in them. So it's good.
I like microphones. Carl and Jeremy. No, I can't sing. Carl and Jeremy, they've been best friends since they were 3 years old. And I know Andy that long. Every time he came over, we'd joke around and he'd tell me stories, a few drinks, but every time he'd make me laugh, he'd spit that drink right out there. He'd hit you with that punchline. But anyway, one day he comes over, he says, taking Jeremy and Carl to Europe. No, you're not. He says, yeah, everything's booked. No, you're not. You're only 12. He said, oh, who cares? Don't worry about it. But he took them year after year all over the world, those two guys. And, you know, I got to thank him for that because those two guys are really good men now. And he'd be proud of them two guys today for sure. And, but he was a funny guy, really funny guy. Always joking around, always making you laugh, spitting that drink out. He hit me with that punchline all the time. But one time he says, yeah, when I was a kid growing up in Scotland, you know, they used to tease me a lot. I'm like, what? He says, well, look at me, look at my name. He says, they used to call me Candy Arse. What? I spent the drink right out there, right? And yeah, he's a very funny guy, very funny man to me anyway. And that's my story about Andy, right? So, that's it. Good man, I can give you a lot of that. Having to make you worry about like those two guys over somewhere around the planet. Andy's like 70 years old, he's probably having drinks. Yeah, go ahead and do what you want, boys. You know, are they climbing a mountain or whatever? I don't know, but they had a good time. Good guy. Thanks. I love the microphone. Anybody else? Anybody else?
My name's Nathan Ash. My father, Carol, and I were good friends. The story I want to parlay is actually last January passed. Andrew was in programs, and it was January 27th, and it was time for Andrew's assessment. And there was probably 10 staff in the boardroom of programs. Ross and I are in attendance. Andrew comes in his wheelchair and he sits at the head of the table like it's a board meeting. And Andrew puts his hands on the corner of the desk and he says to the staff, I don't think you people know what privacy is. And they all look stunned, and there's the occupational therapist and the director of care and the nutritionist. And they're all looking at Andrew, and Andrew says, they've mixed the people with dementia and with us normal people. And some of these people just wander, and they have a tendency to wander into my room and steal stuff. I'm missing my pencil for my Sudoku. I'm missing my Sudoku. So I tell the staff, and the staff decide that putting a yield ribbon or a yellow ribbon as they use for police investigations across Andrew's door. And Andrew looks at them all and says, you know what that did? They stole a ribbon. Anyway, last thing I'd just like to say, I'm going to miss Andrew. He's a great friend of the family, and I loved him dearly. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jeremy. I'm Carl's best friend, apparently, according to him. Very nervous. I knew Andy for 30 years. He referred to me as one of his boys, which was, every time I heard it, just in me right here, it was emotional. And I traveled the world with Carlo and that man, and he changed my life. Like, I just can't explain who he made me as a person. He was what everyone's saying. It's just that's who he was. And to me, he was like my second father. Like, he was just so inspiring. He just knew everything. There wasn't a question you could ask him that he couldn't I I just had a kid 14 days ago. And I'm going to raise him the way Andy raised me and Carlo, just to be, the best person you can be. So I miss him, I love him, and I never stop thinking about him.
Alright, I guess I've been voluntold. Hi everyone. So every single time I saw Andy, he would remind me that I was named after him. So he was always very special and always very bright to be around. Of course, like being probably one of the youngest in this family, I didn't get to know him, I think, as well as everyone did. But when he first went into the hospital, I was spending some time in St. Catharines area, and I went to see him, and we had an amazing talk, and that was the moment that I realized, like, wow, you were very insightful. You know so much about the world and about life, and I just, that's when I realized why he's so important to our family, and why he's so well looked upon. And I really wish I could have had more conversations like that with him. But I know that all of you have a little piece of knowledge from him to share. So I'm looking forward to learning that from you. And I'm looking forward to just feeling his guidance in my life. Love you, Andy. Can you hear me?
Andrew Carse. My name is Gail Estracco, and Andy came into our lives, or my family's life, in 1962 type, 63. We lost our mother at a young age, and my dad worked at General Tire, and Andy would communicate with my dad, and he ended up being very close to all 5 children. He guided us through everything, homework, our special needs brother, getting him speech pathology doctors, and just help him out with everything. The day Doug got married, I remember you running to Mr. Carse's house to tie your tie. I remember him teaching me how to dance before my prom, and I remember my high school, him seeing the invitation on the kitchen table and saying, well, isn't anyone going? And I said, oh, it's just high school. He got my whole family to go, and he was a big part of our lives, and he was the second dad to me. And I ended up working at General Tire for 32 years. And he was a different guy at work than he was at the table. But what a wonderful man, and I'm going to really, really miss him. And I pray for you every night, Andy. And it's the first time I've ever called him Andy. I always call him Mr. Carse. But thank you for all your help, and we love you, and we'll see you again.
Thank you. I didn't know Andy very well by the time I knew him, but by the time I met Andy, we'd already called him Old Andy. But thanks to Pa, I had many a great dinner sitting next to him, and he was a tome of knowledge on all kinds of things that I would have had no perspective on without a little bit of help from him. to guide me along. From things like my Scottish heritage, which he knew more about than I did. My Indian heritage, which he knew more about than I did. My family's military history, which he also knew more about than I did. And we shared many a conversation about technology and maths and the changes he'd seen over the course of his life, and the changes he participated in and watched happen. But the thing that always stood out to me with Andy was a particular bit of timing with the dry wit that he always had. And that's the thing that I would really like to share a story of just a moment, among the many good pieces of advice and words that'll stay with me forever. The one day after, becoming a father and having to go into full-time work, and he'd always make fun of my tie and tell me that it would choke me, and said that he could never get used to one in his life. It felt too much like a collar. And in talking to me about this, he was having a conversation with everyone about how sometimes people are willing to cope with a certain level of misery and a certain level of suffering for material gains in their life. And how, looking back on his life, there was times that he had spent where he sacrificed things to be able to move forward with larger scale projects, things that looked bigger to him than just his own personal happiness. And I'd just come off a day of work and I was a little frustrated, and as he said this, he poured me a glass of wine and slid it across the table to me and said, "How many years have you been miserable for, boy?" And for a moment, there was a moment where it was a brief insult, and then I said, "No, that's not an insult, that's the best piece of advice anyone's given me." And I downed that glass of wine and asked him for another. "Thank you again, Pa." and made the best of the rest of that night, sitting next to Andy the whole time. And that's the way that I'll always remember him. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to say something.
You notice yet again, like Harry's first words, the stories usually involve alcohol. Glasses of wine and timeless advice dispensed over a table in a restaurant or a bar. That was my uncle. God bless him. Anybody else? Okay. I would thank everybody who did get up to say a few words, including some character who sang a song, and everybody who talked, reminisced about their time with Andrew Carse, and so many of you for coming out here, and Giorgio and Carlo and their families traveling here from the wilds of northern British Columbia, somewhere north of the Arctic Circle, I think. Well, Carlo said they had to go through a snowstorm to get down south to fly out here in August or September. So much appreciated, guys, for coming so far. And even the guys who came all the way from Welland. That is appreciated. Not to mention Pelham. They really made an effort. It's all appreciated. So thank you again. And Barstow for a couple of minutes if you want a quick one before you go home. One for the ditch. Thanks.